John Gotti and Vincent the Chin Gigante feud. Gotti and Gigante were both respected and feared bosses in Cosa Nostra, Gotti being boss of the Gambinos and Gigante being boss of the Genovese family, both operating out of New York City. But the two men had very different styles and very different ways of doing things. Gigante operated in the shadows, putting on an act of a crazy, odd man who would walk around Greenwich Village unshaven and in a bathrobe, which threw the FBI off for years, even leaving them to believe that Fat Tony Salerno was in charge of the Genovese family. While Gotti, on the other hand, was right in the face of the people, always well-dressed, clean-shaven, and wearing expensive clothes, making sure other members of the family knew he was accessible. According to John Gotti Jr.'s book, Shadow of My Father, when referring to Gigante, Gotti had stated, "I'd rather be doing life than be like him," speaking on how Gigante was hiding behind a facade. Jr. went on to say how members of the Life, when speaking on Gotti, would say things like, "When he shot, he hit his target, not grazed his head," a mob metaphor referring to the time Gigante attempted but failed to hit on mob boss Frank Costello on orders from Vito Genovese back in the 1950s, as compared to the Castellano hit and Gambino family takeover allegedly orchestrated by John Gotti. The word on the street was that because of the Castellano hit, Gigante, who was a Castellano loyalist and had history with Paul dating back to the 1950s, was furious with Gotti and his crew, who for obvious reasons never consulted the commission about the hit. Gigante felt that Gotti, along with Sammy Gravano and the rest of their crew, should have to pay for breaking the rules of Cosa Nostra, which was a hypocritical move on the Chin's part, being that he attempted the same thing on Costello back in the 50s. But nonetheless, according to FBI reports, in 1987, they believed Gigante had ordered members of the Genovese family from the Newark, New Jersey faction to take out brothers John and Gene Gotti. And according to Shadow of My Father, FBI agent Bruce Mao and others personally delivered the message to Gotti at his home in Howard Beach, where he was said to have responded by shrugging and telling the agents to have a nice day before closing the door to them. Upon receiving the information, a sit-down was arranged between Gotti and Gigante, Gene Gotti arranging security for John, and Quiet Dom Carrillo arranging Gigante's. According to Gigante, the agents must have been referring to tape recordings where the word "dead" was referring to the great likelihood that the brothers would be sent to prison at their trial that was coming up in 1987. And Gigante stated that he was never involved in any plot to take out the Gottis, and that if he found the rumors were true, he would kill the head of his New Jersey faction, Louis Bobby Manna. The two men came to an agreement. Gigante gave his word and the meeting was concluded. But Gotti, being the street-smart guy he was, made sure he followed up on Gigante's claims and put his own guy from Newark, New Jersey faction, Bobby Cabert, to watch Manna, which didn't last long because Manna was arrested and sentenced to 80 years in prison. As with most stories surrounding the mob, there's other versions of what actually took place between Gotti and Gigante. Some people believe that the car bomb that killed Gambino underboss Frank DeCicco was actually intended for Gotti, and the rumor is that Gigante teamed up with Little Al DiArco and Anthony Gaspipe Casso, who in turn subcontracted the hit out, and the man took out DeCicco in a case of mistaken identity, believing it was Gotti, although there is no way to truly verify these accounts. But years later, when Anthony Gaspipe Casso turned government cooperator, he would state that Vinny the Chin did lend his support at times when it came to revenge against Gotti, and also stated that he was sort of in cahoots with two other Gambino family members, Dan Marino and Frank Fiala, who had talks that in the event Gotti would receive a life sentence, the men would eliminate any other Gotti loyalists in the way, so Marino and Fiala could take over the family along with Gaspipe's assistance. Gaspipe turned government witness in 1994 and testified in May of '96, but was the first major mob cooperator to be kicked out of the witness protection program for bribing guards to bring him contraband into prison and for lying during his testimony about certain witnesses in July of 1998. Casso was sentenced to 455 years in prison and went on to die in December of 2020 from COVID at the age of 78 years old. Casso goes down in mob history as a treacherous, sadistic killer known for his Machiavellian mindset, who had a distaste for Gotti and his crew, going back to Gotti's decision not to exact revenge on Angelo Ruggiero for his attempted hit on Casso, as described in my last video. As for Vincent the Chin Gigante and John Gotti's feud, no war would ever come about, and the two men were even said to have attended sit-downs where they were in each other's presence after the fact, with no violence ever occurring. Some say that after receiving word that Gigante was behind the car bombing that claimed Chico's life, and that Gotti himself was the supposed target, that he had one of the Chin's men hit as revenge, but there is no way to prove if these claims are true. Casso told the FBI that Gigante hired him to plot Gotti's hit and said he brought in a man named Herbert Plate, who was a Genovese associate, in order to not raise suspicion amongst the Gambino family. The story is that Gotti was believed to be attending a meeting at the Veterans and Friends Social Club with Chico the day he was hit, but instead a Gambino member named Frank Bellino was actually the man attending. Said Herbert Plate, using an explosive, a remote control car, and a bag of groceries, placed the bomb under Chico's Buick Electra, and when the men left the meeting and drove off, Plate detonated the bomb, killing Chico and wounding Bellino. As mentioned before, there is no way to verify whose accounts are true and whose are fabricated, so all we can do is take what is said and draw our own conclusions from it. In my opinion, Gigante probably was involved in the agreement with Gaspipe to plot Gotti's death, but when things went wrong, Gigante was not one for law enforcement attention, denied involvement to avoid a war with the Gambino family, knowing Gotti would surely have retaliated, which in turn would bring down lots of heat on the families. I think Gotti probably had his suspicions as well, but for the same reasons, and already under heavy surveillance, knew this was not a good time for a war with a guy like Gigante. And with Gigante's denied involvement, that was all he would need to not face scrutiny from the other families. I would like to hear what you guys think, so please drop a comment in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button and hit subscribe and smash the notification bell to get more content like this. All financial support to the channel is also greatly appreciated. The links to my Cash App and Venmo are in the description of this video. Thank you for your support and thank you for watching. It's Wise Guy TV.